Tremendous here, and I got another book review here for you. This one is called Treaty and Treason, an Azure Empire novel, the Northland Heir Series Book 1. Wow. It is by C.A. Baker, and it is book 1, obviously, of I don't know how many, at least 2. It is 272 pages and was published on October 22nd, 2019. It is under the epic fantasy genre category, whatever you want to call it. And I bought it for $4.99 on my Kindle, and there is a paperback format for $9.99. There is no Kindle Unlimited version, so I don't know if that deters you or helps you, but that's the way it is. All in all, this book... Well, non-spoilers, it's about a Japanese woman or Asian woman. I know the cover does not show that at all. But it is very Asian themed. I'm not sure if it's Japanese, Chinese, Korean, but it is very Oriental themed with honor and rights and servitude. It's like the dynasties back in the day with samurai and all that. I don't know if it's our world or if it's just the world that the author created or anything like that. But you meet this woman, Niva, Nivah. I think I'm saying that one right. And she's the emperor's, not the emperor's, I'm sorry. She's the Providence's leader's daughter and heir. She's 22 years old, and she is an entitled, selfish brat. But she's got that honor samurai thing going on, so she's not like completely garbage, but she's very pampered, she's very catered to, she's very taken care of, and she's very entitled. She's one of those, she's a bratty teenager. She knows everything, nobody can tell her anything because, well, she's the king's daughter or whatever, the Providence's heir, so just everybody kind of kisses her ass. I don't like her. I got to be honest with you. For the vast majority of this book, I don't like her. But the world she lives in, they're on this continent, and there's the emperor, the Azure Emperor kingdom or whatever, and it's ruled by this emperor, this 70-year-old. Honestly, you get the feeling he's a dirtbag, but he doesn't, like, towards the end of the book, you don't think so. You think he's just a ruler, and he's a very smart ruler. And there's 10 provinces outside of the empire, but 9 of them are all, they have an alliance with the emperor. So basically they're all the United States of this book. And there's the Northlands, which is what Niva and her people live in. And 25 years ago, 3 years before she was born, there was this big fight between the emperor and their people, and they were able to hold him back in order to keep their independence. So it's been good for 25 years, and the book picks up where the emperor has sent a couple of envoys to talk to them. And the envoys show up, and their dad doesn't, or her dad, the Lord Torval or whatever, he doesn't even bother talking with them. He just sends them away. Basically, he tells them to go kick rocks. He's not interested in whatever it is that they think they're selling, which is bad. Really bad. It's the stupidest thing he could have done. But again, it's the weird Chinese, Japanese, that samurai culture type thing with the honor and all that. And he's kind of an idiot. I mean, I'm sorry. The guy's supposed to be wise. He comes off as a petulant, arrogant, angry dictator. And yeah, there's a couple of things that he does that are smart, or that the author tries to lead you to believe is smart, but really, he's a moron. He's surrounded by potential enemies in a situation where if the emperor is mad and decides to just scrub him off the face of the continent, he could do it. And yeah, they'll bleed him a little bit, but they're going to lose. And all these people that he's supposed to care about are going to die horribly. So Niva sees that, and she thinks what I was thinking. Oh, man, if they go back and they tell the emperor that he didn't even talk to him, that my dad didn't even talk to him, he's just going to send his army, and that's going to be all she wrote, right? So she intercepts him, turns it around, and there's a hospitality law they have in their kingdom, dynasty, province, whatever, where basically once she offers her hospitality to him, she's required by their laws to take care of them, and anything bad that happens to him is on her, and she's subject to all the penalties that were to occur had something bad happen to him. Whatever. It's pretty thin, but it's the hook that the author needs in order to move the story along. And then for 67% of the book, nothing flippin' happens. It is the slowest story I've read in a long time. It is literally putting together, getting all the other lords and ladies that they call them Vars and Varas or whatever, Varas and Voras or something like that. Basically lords and ladies. All the other inner circle people have to come to this meeting. And it is literally over 100 pages of drama. And Niva going, I just wish that I could make it all go away with a magic wand. Here's what the Emperor wants. He wants the Northlands to join him because he wants to unite the continent, right? That's what he wants. It's not unreasonable. And he sends his envoys up there and to ask them, hey, listen, let's have a treaty. Let's have an alliance. Join us so that the whole continent is united and we don't have to worry about crap anymore. We're good and we can move on from there. It'd be wonderful. and the only thing that he really asks that's well, he wants three things. He wants, if imperial law and providence law clash, imperial law rules. If a situation requires a military reaction and they require troops from their province, they'll ascend them. And Niva or somebody needs to be a consort of the emperor. Basically, he's got a harem, and Niva is who they choose, but Niva would have to go and live with the emperor in a life of luxury unlike anything she's ever seen, and have to produce one child with him, or at least make the attempt. That's what she's hung up on this whole time. And it's 67% of the book. It's over 100 and something pages worth of just listening to her whine and complain and all this stuff. But the alternative is a very good possibility that the emperor will send the armies of his own world, of his own area, and the 9 provinces that surround them to wipe out her people, kill all of them, and enslave the survivors. But she doesn't want to give up herself because she doesn't want that. And I get that she doesn't want that. I totally understand that. I'm there. But the fact that she's like, it's my duty. I swore a sacred oath to protect my people. Unless it involves sex. Once it involves sex, I'm out. My oath doesn't count anymore. It's literally that for 67% of the book. And then finally, after that, between 67 and 75% of the book, they finally have the big meeting. And it goes about as bratty as you would think. Honestly, the envoys from the emperor are the only ones that handle themselves like adults. That and her boyfriend's father, who, of course, is one of the noble people in the province. He's pretty badass. Inoa or whatever. But I'll get into it in the spoilers, but she does redeem herself. She does finally redeem herself, but not because her dad sits down and talks to her, not because her useless mother sits down and talks to her or anything like that, but because her boyfriend's dad sits down and talks to her and brings her to reality. The only positive adult in the whole damn book, other than the Emperor's envoys, is her boyfriend's father. It's so infuriating. It really, really is. Not only that, but there's a foreword in this book, the author's note in the very beginning of the book, where she's thanking everybody. I believe the author's a female, where I believe she's thanking everybody for helping her with the book, with the beta reading, and her editor, and all this other stuff. I don't know, either she changed stuff after her editor and her beta readers got a hold of the book, or that whole thing is just smoke and mirrors, because chapter 3 repeats itself. Somebody copied and pasted 6 pages onto the end of chapter 3 so that you get to the end of chapter 3, you have no idea you're at the end, and all of a sudden the chapter repeats itself for 6 pages, like verbatim. There's no difference or anything like that. It's very frustrating. It's super infuriating. And honestly, this book has been out since October. I'm not the first one that read it. There's no way this book, especially on e-reader, should have gotten to me in the damaged state like that. That is a major flaw, in my opinion. And it stunned me. I had to go back and reread it just to make sure, because I had the weirdest sense of deja vu, and it totally just removed me from any immersion I might have been able to get from the book, especially at that point, because it's disgusting. I'm sorry. I hate to be rude. I hate to attack, but that big of an error, that big of an editing mistake, especially with how easy it is to fix with Kindle and stuff like that. It literally, you go in, you remove those pages, and you resubmit it, and within a day, tops, it's right back there, and that huge glaring error isn't there anymore. And there's a lot of minor editing errors, wrong word usage, missing words, added words that weren't deleted during the editing process, enough to the point where it becomes jarring. It gets better towards the end of the book. I don't know if people were as bored with the beginning of the book as I was, but that first 66%, 67% of the book, you find a lot of spelling errors. No punctuation errors that I caught, but a lot of wrong word usage, the words that shouldn't have been there. It's frustrating. So yeah, that really hurt this book, in my opinion, a lot. And then just the overall slowness. It felt like I was wading through a very thick tar pit, and that was just, the foundation was quicksand. Super slow, super boring. And the main character, I just wanted to slap the taste out of her mouth. I swear. And it's just super infuriating that on one side of her mouth, she would talk about how she's dedicated to her people. The next side of her mouth, but not if it involves sex. Nope, everybody can die. It's frustrating. She does redeem herself in the end, and it does work out pretty well, actually. And it becomes very interesting at about the 67, 68% mark in the book. But I paid $4.99 for a 272-page book, and I got about 100 pages worth of story. So I don't like that. I don't like that at all. So I wanted to give this book around 3 stars, because at the end it does redeem itself, and it pulls it out of the dislike. The story, it pulls it out of the dislike area. But with the editing mistake, especially the glaring problem with chapter 3, and the fact that the author couldn't be bothered to go back and fix it, because there's no way nobody has told this author that about this error. There's no way that since October 22nd, that I'm the only one to read chapter 3 and didn't come back and tell the author, hey, you've got a glaring problem here in chapter 3 with 6 pages repeating themselves. And that's just lazy. That hurts all self-published authors, because it's that kind of thing, that kind of error that gives us all that stigmata. So I'm going to go ahead and stick with integrity here, and I'm going to give this book 2.5 stars, just based on, everything I've been ranting about for 13 minutes. But I'm going to go ahead and stop the non-spoiler side so I can get into the meat of this book. I'm going to play an ad, and then I'm going to jump right into spoilers. So if you want to read the book, if you can get past the first 2/3 of the book, you do get rewarded for it at the end. I'm not going to lie. It does catch your attention, and cool stuff does happen, and it's interesting, and there is a redemption. But if you don't, you just want me to walk you through it, then stick around after the ad for the spoilers. Hey, also, everybody knows that just finishing a book isn't the entire battle. You gotta have an editor. Otherwise, there's a good chance your book is gonna be awful. So if you're looking for one, my editor, elatoria at Fiverr.com, is available for a very good price. If you want, go check her out. Spoilers are coming next, so if you're still here when the music stops, that's on you. Alright, you're still here, so let's get to it. So, like I was saying, it starts off, and Niva is the heiress, the daughter of Torvald or something like that, who's the lord, the guy in charge of the province, of the Northlands. And she is a super entitled princess. Simple as that. Can't be told anything, can't be explained anything. She knows everything. She's great at everything. She poops gold and can walk on water. And so it starts off, her little brother, who is useless, by the way. First of all, her parents are 2 of the worst parents in the book. I'm sorry. They are raw garbage. Her father is an angry dictator who's very stupid, and her mother is this aloof absentee landlord that spouts off philosophy instead of advice and literally doesn't even live with them. She's off with her people in her tribe somewhere, can't be bothered to raise her 14-year-old daughter, deal with her son, or her 22-year-old incompetent heiress. Just wow, awful parents. Anyway, so these two envoys come up to a province from the emperor to talk to her dad about joining them. And her dad, being the infinite asshole that he is, sorry for swearing, but it's true, sends him away without talking to him, which is the most ridiculous, stupid thing he can do because everybody knows the emperor will attack them. Everybody knows that the emperor is looking for a reason to attack him. He wants to do it the peaceful way through negotiations and diplomacy, but the military option is very, very much an option for him, and it's super in his favor. And everybody knows that, but yeah, sure, let's just literally flip him to bird and cause this fight that's going to get everyone slaughtered and enslaved. Great call, Lord. What a moron. And so I can see why his kids are all useless, and they really are. So her little brother has one job: get her the hell away from the main area so that she doesn't run into the emperor's envoys and screw up her dad's plan. Her brother's a moron. He does not pull that off. She sees the envoys, gets in the way, and ends up being their hostess there to set up this big meeting. And then literally you're introduced to 20 plus supporting characters, all of whose names are 4 to 6 characters long. The vast majority of them are 5 characters long. Niva, Rising, Seri, Rosai, Reze. All the names are not only, the vast majority of them are 5 characters, but they're so close in pronunciation that they all start mixing together. And I don't know who anybody is. I know the main character, I know who her boyfriend is, I know who her guard is, and I know who her dad is. But everything else, it's like, I don't remember who this person is. I don't remember who this person is, because although it spends the next 67% of the book going over everything in an agonizingly slow detail where literally nothing happens. Literally nothing happens. Other than like this weird plot foundation thing the author's trying to do. I know she's trying to build up the suspense and the drama, but it just comes off as white noise because nothing happens other than she whines a lot. Oh gosh, what is going to happen? They want to join us, and it would be good for our people if we joined them. We'd be into a prosperity that we'd never know otherwise. But I'd have to have a kid with a 70-year-old man. No, I think it'd be better if everybody dies. It's just the most ridiculous premise on the planet. I totally understand not wanting to be a concubine. I get that 150%. However, she is the princess to this province, and she knows history. The book literally starts with her getting history lessons for the umpteenth time, and she's super bored with them because, when am I ever going to need this? Yeah, I'm not making that up. She's that kind of person. So she knows the history. She knows what's going on. She took an oath to defend her people with her life, no matter what it took. Apparently, she was under the impression that there was some fine print in there that said, unless it involves your booty, and then all bets are off because everyone can die, because her shit's holier than thou. It blows my mind how convoluted that is. I totally get the problem, but this wasn't something that is unheard of. 9 other provinces that surround them that have joined the emperor all gave someone to the emperor for this purpose, okay? Slavery and servants and all that, totally normal. And she's not going to be a slave. She's not going to be a servant. She's going to be a consort of the emperor. She has to put out one kid or make one attempt at a kid with him. And then her people live in safety, security, and prosperity unlike anything they'll ever know without being joined up with the emperor. But No, she's not a virgin. She's got a boyfriend. They have sex in the book. It's very PG. So don't think that you're going to get 50 Shades of Grey with this, which is fine. I actually 100% support the author on that. I like that. But because this book wouldn't benefit from that. But so she's not a virgin. It's not like she was holding herself. She just didn't want to be the consort of the emperor. And I get that. But she also, it's that whole honor thing. This is my purpose in life, is to defend and take care of my people. And she could take care of her people in an extraordinary way by having to sacrifice, her womb for a child. And before you get all high and mighty, like, oh, blah, 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 she does it. Because, and I'm jumping ahead here, because her boyfriend's father, who's a lord in the province, literally sits her down like her father should have done on day one and says, listen, would you die for your people? This is a great scene, by the way. This whole interaction is a great scene, a wonderful, wonderful part of the book that happens about 77% of the way through. He sits her down and he says, listen, would you die for your people? And she's in an instant. She goes, yes, I'd let him execute me in a heartbeat if I thought that would help, but it wouldn't. That's not what they want. And he goes, exactly. So you would die for your people. Would you live for your people? Would you live in a way that you may not want to? And it stops her cold. And it's, it's a little bit more philosophical than I would put it, but it nails it. It nails it. The author nails that scene. And she realizes it. She goes, after 70% of this book, whining and complaining about, oh, woe is me, I'll have to live in the lap of luxury for the rest of my life as the emperor's consort, where I'll have to pump out one kid, probably, in order to bind this treaty, in the bloodlines forever, and making thousands of her people's lives better than anything they'd ever know. It hits her like a brick, and she does realize it. Thank God for her boyfriend's father. And she turns a leaf. She redeems herself after 75% of the book just being insufferable. And she's really insufferable. It's infuriating. I don't know if I'm conveying that right. So she finally goes, they finally have this meeting, and she goes and she stands in front of all of them after they're negotiating everything. And it's super interesting, don't get me wrong. When they actually start having a meeting, when you get to about the 67% part of the book, it gets super interesting again. And they have the meeting, and of course, Dad is throwing a temper tantrum because he's a moron. Mom is kind of pouting. All the other nobles and noblettes are kind of like they're on one side of the fence or the other. One is obviously a bad guy. The author broadcasts that way too obvious, that these people are going to try to kill you. I mean, literally, one drops off a sheath in front of her door to her room through a servant, and it could mean that, hey, maybe this is something that the sword is gone because we need peace, or it could also be you're going to be in your sheath for the sword. It's a ridiculous notion. Yes, it's a threat, moron, but whatever. So they go through it all, and her dad is throwing a hissy fit, and she stands up, and she's like, listen, I'm going to do it. If the only thing that's going to stop this treaty from happening is me not giving it up, then I'm going to give it up in order to ensure the safety and prosperity of our people for the rest of eternity, and there's nothing you can do to stop me. And her dad, of course, hems and haws, but he backs down because, well, he's a moron, and honestly, I think deep down that's what the character wanted her to do anyway. Mom throws a little bit of a hissy fit, but of course, it was prophesized. Yes, there's prophecy in this book. How could there not be, right? It's a little ridiculous, but the author isn't completely unclever with the prophecy. It's just really vague and really difficult to understand it. It's just, I think if the whole prophecy part was removed from the book, it still would have been fine. You would have lost about 15, 20 pages of fluff, and you'd have had the same damn story. But anyway, she goes with them, three of her friends, and the prophecy's nursemaid comes with them because, of course, she has special powers because she needs them. Yeah. So they're making their way to the Empire, and they know they're going to be attacked. Okay, during the negotiations, when she made that pact and they all agreed to it, a bunch of people literally jumped to their feet and stormed out of the meeting. It doesn't get any more obvious than that what's about to happen. Literally, grade schoolers would look and go, "They're going to stab somebody. We need to get some guards on them." But yeah, yeah. So they're making their way towards the Emperor. They make it a day or two down there. They camp for the night, and it's super obvious what's going to happen. They're going to be attacked, right? Like, everybody can see this coming. It's not because I'm clever. It's because it couldn't be more broadcast if they used the Batman signal, right? So here's my problem with what happens. They get attacked, but they're there all night. There's guards, they set up watches. The main character and her four friends, three friends and the nursemaid, all set up watches and stuff like that. And of course, the main character and one of the other girls end up taking the last shift, but they got to sleep real late and stuff like that because of course they couldn't be tired for getting abducted. And what happens? They know they're going to be attacked. They know that there's watches everywhere. They know that there's a problem. She has to pee. Princess has to pee. So she gets out of her tent, walks outside the perimeter of the camp, doesn't run into any guards. None of the Imperial guards that are watching the camp overnight are doing anything to stop her. They don't encounter her. She pees, her friend pees, and as soon as she stands up and gets her britches back on, she gets jumped from behind, because of course she does, by none other than one of the people in her town, and they're drunk. They've been drinking. She can smell it on their breath. So she got snuck up on by a drunk dude and his partner in the middle of the night when they knew that, well, not in the middle of the night, in the early morning, when they knew they were about to be attacked. Everybody knew it was coming. So Deus Ex Machina, her friend gets knocked in the head and gets a concussion, so she's down. Her Niva, of course, is able to sweet talk this guy into letting her go so she can reach down and grab a tree branch, which thank God that was there, right? Of all the places in this woods they could have been, there was a tree branch right there that she was able to grab up that had the heft and density to do the damage she needed it to do. So she grabs it, she pops him in the gut, and then breaks the branch over the back of his head. When that happens, the guy who knocked out her friend jumps on her, knocks her down, and is about to skewer her with his sword when her boyfriend shows up and tackles the guy and kills him. What the hell is he doing there, you ask? They've been following these people that jumped them for 2 days, waiting for them to make their move so that they could stop them. Because technically, they didn't do anything illegal until they attacked them. So, the Emperor's convoy, their envoy and their guards are all traveling with Niva, her friends and everything, back to the Empire. If they're attacked on the Northland soil, that's treated, and this is all known. This isn't something that gets revealed later in the book. This is already known. If they're attacked on Northland soil, it's like attacking the Emperor himself. And these insufferable morons wait until they attack the Imperial Guard and kill like 15 of them. No, 8 of them. 8 of them die. Holy shit. So then, of course, there's a big battle, and they all fight, and of course, all the main characters live. Every single one of the main characters live. They get beat up a little bit. Nivea's got a little puncture wound in her back, but she's totally fine. Nothing that a poultice and some stitches couldn't fix. And they capture a bunch of the bad guys. They kill a bunch of them, and they capture the rest, and they're able to use the nursemaid's weird superpowers, because not only did they stop somewhere in the middle of the night 2 days away from the main town, but they are also literally 10 minutes away from a laystone area where the gods are very strong in that area. So if it was any more convenient, it would be part of the script. So they go over there, they take one of the bad guys, the named bad guy, they go and she performs her witchy voodoo to get him to confess to all the names and stuff like that. They go back and they tell the envoys who was responsible for this, and they said, well, as long as the punishment fits the crime, the Emperor will be okay with it. And of course, death for everyone is the punishment that fits the crime. So all of them are going to be killed there, and they all are. And then the ones back in town that didn't come with but didn't stop it, they all die too. And that's how the book pretty much ends. They are continuing their way down to the Empire of Azure to join and make a baby and all this other stuff. It's the book is flat out boring for about 67% of the book. Two-thirds of the book is just boring. Sorry, but nothing interesting happens. You're given no reason to like the main character. You aren't given enough time with any of the supporting characters to really give a crap about any of them. And it's literally planning and talking and planning and whining, a lot of whining from Niva because, oh, woe is me. This is all happening to me. It has nothing to do with anyone else. And gosh, if I think I did the right thing, but maybe I should have talked to my dad first and figured out what was going on. And it's just super frustrating, really, really aggravating. Her father's useless, her mother's useless, her little sister's useless. Granted, she's 14 and she gets like shuffled away so that the envoys don't pick her instead of Niva. But her little brother is a meek fool. I mean, just everybody is useless in this family, including Niva. The only redeeming part of the whole Northland tribe is when her boyfriend's father finally sits down with Niva and explains to her, would you die for your people? Would you live for your people? And she's like, yes. He goes, there's your answer. And it's a beautiful scene. It's a very well written scene, and it's wonderful. And it's what should have happened on page mother effing 20 with her father being the one that told her this. Cause holy crap. How this guy stayed in power for a quarter of a century is beyond me, because literally the milk guy should have been able to take him out. He was that stupid. Like, just mind-blowingly stupid. But anyway, that's really it in a nutshell. It does get better at about 67%, like I said, but two-thirds of the book you've got to just trudge through, and it's a nightmare. I found myself rolling my eyes a lot and not wanting to finish the book. I did get rewarded, and yes, Niva does redeem herself at the end, but in my opinion, it's too little too late. It just wasn't a great story, wasn't a great book, and with the editing mistakes of chapter 3 repeating itself for 6 pages, and a lot of wrong words, missing words, too many words, like they didn't delete them during the editing process, especially with that foreword thanking all these people for looking all this stuff over. The author must have either gone back after all of the editing was done and changed some stuff and really screwed up the book, or it just never got edited well, and it's painful. It's painful. The editing gets better the farther along in the book you get, but the damage is done early on, and it's frustrating. So with that, I've got to stick to my guns. 2.5 stars. I did not like this book. I don't hate it, but I did not enjoy it, and that's why it's got to be 2.5. I'm sorry. I'll give it the half because I did like the redemption in the end. I loved the scene with her boyfriend's father and her where she finally wakes up. I like that the author did that, but that was really it. That was it. I was close to liking the book, and just I really wish 2/3 of it would have been more interesting. This would have been a lot better review. But that all being said, I am well aware that I am not the definitive authority on what is good and what is bad. If you're interested in reading this book, the link to the book will be in the description below. Check it out, come back, and let me know what you think. I have no problem having a conversation about this book or any book that I've done a review on. So that's going to do it for this one. As always, if you have any questions, comments, concerns, or complaints, feel free to put them in the comment section below, and I will get back to you as quick as I can. But as always, thanks.